I'm going to continue with Oneness versus the 1% by Vandana Shiva and Kartikey Shiva. Post-truth, it was and has always been about awakening our conscience, our inner power to resist an external imposed cruel and unjust system. Gandhi's Salt Satyagraha inspired Vandana Seed Satyagraha of Seed Freedom Movement since 1987, when I first heard corporations talking about owning seeds through intellectual property rights, IPR. My conscience refused to accept it. I made a lifetime commitment to saving seeds, to not cooperate with IPR systems that make seed saving and seed exchange a crime. Bija Satyagraha, Seed Satyagraha, is a people's movement for the resurgence of the real seed, of the intelligence of farmers to be breeders and to co-evolve with the intelligence of seed towards diversity, resilience and quality. The Bija Satyagraha pledge that our farmers take says, "We have received these seeds from nature and our ancestors. It is our duty to future generations to hand them over to the richness of diversity and integrity in which we receive them. Therefore, we will not obey any law or adopt our technology that interferes in our higher duties to the earth and the future generations. We will continue to save and share our seeds." Since 1991, Navadanya has organised farmers through the Bija Satyagraha movement to keep seed in farmers' hands and not cooperate with IPR law and seed acts that are based on the illusion that seeds are inventions of corporations like Monsanto. In 1993, 500,000 farmers participated in a historic Bija Satyagraha rally in Bangalore, Cuban Park, the first international protest against the General Agreement on the Tariff and Trade, GATT or WTO. In 2014, through the Seed Satyagraha, we stopped a seed law that would have made farmers saving and exchanging their local varieties illegal. The global seed freedom movement practiced similar satyagrahas in Europe, Colombia and California to prevent the introduction of compulsory registration laws and criminalise farmers' seed varieties. The Jal Satyagraha against Coca-Cola in Kerala and in Doon Valley stopped the beverage giant from stealing water. The water democracy movement to defend the ganja and prevent privatisation of its water from Delhi halted the World Bank-funded water privatisation project. Satyagrahas initiated by women against industrial aquaculture in Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh and Odisha successfully protected people's rights to safe drinking water. Real freedom is based on the freedom to defend our rivers and our water as a commons, to defend our seeds and our healthy, nutritious, indigenous food. We undertook the Sarsen Satyagraha Mustard Satyagraha in 1988 against the ban on the indigenous cold-pressed edible oils to facilitate the dumping of GMO soya oil in India. That is why cold-pressed oils, including mustard oil, are available in the country today. In 2015, we renewed the Sarsen Satyagraha and an attempt was made to introduce GMO mustard. In December 2015, we undertook Satyagraha when pseudo-safety laws were trying to shut down Gandhi's cold-press oil mill in Sevagram, Maharashtra. These satyagrahas have brought the right to safe, healthy indigenous food centre stage. In 1998, the global soya lobby started to dump GMO soya oil in India and manipulated a ban on indigenous cold-pressed oil mills, as a result of which 500,000 village oil mills across the country were closed. No indigenous oil were available. Member of the Women's Food Sovereignty Alliance called me from the slums of Delhi and said we must bring our mustard oil back. That is when we started the Sarsens Satyagraha civil disobedience against the laws that banned our mustard and the making of our own edible oil from our own oil seeds with our own hands. In 2017, a Satyagraha organised by the Mahila Anna Swaji Food Sovereignty in Women's Hands, a network of more than 5 million women producers, was successful in blocking food safety standards that would have shut down women's artisanal processing. The Satyagrahas are of the tribal people in Nyamagari or Odisha and our peasants in Singha or Nandigram in West Bengal halted the corporate land grab unleashed by globalization. Examples of trying to make the local ecological and democratic alternatives illegal include the repeated attempt by seed corporations to criminalize local seed and seed saving by farmers, and the move to make local artisanal food production illegal. Fresh, local and artisanal food without chemical additives and industrial processing is recognised as the healthiest food. This is why until 1990s food processing in India was reserved for the small scale and cottage industry sector. The WTO rules changed our food and agricultural system dramatically. Today we are living with food imperialism. We have become a sick nation due to rapid spread of industrially processed and junk foods. The oils most Indians consume as vegetable oil these days are industrially processed, imported palm and soy oils, unlike sesame, mustard, groundnut, linseed and coconut. These are not true oils because they cannot be processed in gannis or through a cold press. The oil from soya is extracted at high temperatures in hexane solvent extraction plants. Hexane is a crude oil-based organic solvent with many industrial uses and is a neurotoxicant. No tests or labelling inform citizens about this process and the inclusion of GMOs in our food chain. In industrially refined oils, 30% blended in refined oil is legal. The adulterants are labelled as vegetable oils without letting consumers know the vegetable oil include oil from the toxic GMO cottonseed. GMO food are not allowed in India, yet BT cottonseed oil is being freely blended in industrial edible oils. It is industrial food with added chemicals that needs to be tested in labs, not just for artificial ingredients but also for the impact of chemical additives and industrial processing on our health. The new food safety rules are arbitrary because they do not differentiate between artisanal chemical-free processing of oil from the industrial chemical crude oil-based processes. Importing chemical labs on a Gandhi ensures that safe food made in the artisanal sector are shut down in order to create a monopoly by corporations for unhealthy and unsafe foods. Pure virgin olive oil from Ghana is still sold in Gandhi's Servangam ashram and people come from far and wide to buy it. Food safety is the artisanal sector needs participatory systems where citizens who produce the oil and those who consume it set the standards of quality and reliability. Just as there are participatory guaranteed systems for organic production, we need participatory systems for artisanal food processing. Imported, the adulterated edible oil dominate the market because they are subsidized with ecological and health costs are hidden and externalized. For instance, in India, the import duty of edible oil was reduced in 1998 from 300% to zero, an indirect subsidy. In addition, the Indian government subsidises soya oil by Rs 15 litres. This is over and above the subsidy given by the US government to it. The expansion of palm oil plantations in the primary reason for the destruction of rainforests in Indonesia. The expansion of GMO soy plantation is a major cause of the destruction of the Amazon rainforest and Cerrado in Brazil and Argentina. Forest destruction contributes 18% of greenhouse gases, and 85% of rainforest destruction is accounted for by the expansion of industrial agricultural palm oil cultivation in Indonesia, accounted for an estimated 2 to 9% of tropical land use emissions. From 2000 to 2010, the country was the world's 7th largest polluter in 2009, and deforestation accounted for about 30% of these emissions, ranking second behind Brazil in pollution due to deforestation. Soya cultivation in India destroys soil fertility and is ruining farmers in Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra. Gandhi's Ghani is a symbol of our freedom from a new corporate imperialism trying to control what we grow on our farms, how we process our food and what we eat, while the current food safety laws originate in the sanitary and phytosanitary agreement of the WTO and the Doha Round, or the WTO as good as dead, after the Nairobi ministerial held in the 15th to the 19th of December 2015. The toxic food industry is getting ready to impose the Trans-Pacific Partnership trade deal, which will fully dismantle our food safety system. We must act now to reclaim our rights to grow and eat safe, healthy indigenous foods. On the 30th of January 2016, Gandhi's Martyrdom Day, I joined Gandhians and Sevagrams in defence of Gandhi's Ganti as a symbol of Swadeshi food, and we have made a commitment to introduce tiny Ganesh in many villages as possible, to create artisanal livelihoods, to make healthy cold press oil accessible to all, and to create local circular economy to the farmers can grow and diversify in oilseed that have been displaced by imports of bad oil and by the spread of monoculture. In April 2017, on the anniversary of the Champaran Satyagraha, we undertook a Satyagraha Yatra starting in Meetroot. We visited Varanasi to celebrate the 1810 movement against the British imposed house tax. On the 17th of April, we undertook a pilgrim to Champaran, the day Gandhi started his Satyagraha against the forced cultivation of indigo. We then joined the valiant communities of Singha and Nandigram, who prevented a land grab for an industrial project through a land satyagraha. After paying homage to those who participated in the salt satyagraha in 1930, by travelling the salt road of Odisha, we concluded our yatra or Earth Day at the Navada Community Seed Bank in Odisha, which has spread seeds of hope across India after cyclones, after the tsunami, and after repeated droughts. Over 4.5 decades, I have participated in many satyagrahas, beginning with Chipko movement and my commitment to our common freedom grows deeper with time. The planetary Satyagraha we need today is for each of us to break free of the prison of our mind created by the 1% through constructs and illusions while we unleash our intelligence and latent power to begin to resurge of the real. Today's non-corporation movements begin with not subscribing to the fictions and falsehoods through which we are colonized, and by not cooperating with the structures of violence and domination built through these fictions to uphold structures of exaggeration and exploitation. Breaking free of the 1% is the Satyagraha of our times. Real freedom and real wealth creation call for the practice of Satyagraha, Swaji and Swadeshi with integrity and integration, resistance without another imagination rooted in the real. Combined and constructive actions will not create another world. Sowing the seeds of freedom is not imaginary, it is a conscious act, an act in which we become one with the earth. Oneness is our being, our source, our power to resist non-violently, our power to co-create non-violently. Recently, the High Court of Uttarakhand in India ruled that Himalayan mountain ranges, glaciers, rivers, streams, rivulets, lakes, jungles, the air, forest, meadows, dales, wetlands, grasslands and springs are living beings and legal entities with rights. The legislature in Madhya Pradesh recognised the personhood of the Narmada River in May 2017 to ensure conservation of aquatic biodiversity. These judicial and paradigm shifts that are taking place create new possibilities for sustainable societies and earth democracies. The Monsanto Tribunal and General Assembly that we organised in October 2016 in The Hague brought witnesses from across the world onto our platform to share evidence on Monsanto's crimes against nature and humanity on record. This is earth democracy in practice, and while we resist the untruth, the violent, we are also sowing seeds of hope and freedom. Seeding the future, seeding freedom through earth democracy. Seeding the future when possible extinction stares us in the face. Seeding freedom for the freedoms of our beings are being closed for the limitless freedom of the 1% to exploit the earth, the people, to manipulate life and our minds. This calls for a quantum leap in our imaginations, our intelligences, our creative, non-violence, resistant and non-cooperation with a system that is driving us to extinction. Our only option is to heal the earth, and in doing so, to heal and reclaim our humanity, creating hope for our own future, our one humanity on one planet. Stephen Hawking's two options: become extinct or escape from planet Earth to another planet, are not the two futures available to humanity. There is a third option: beyond extinction and escape, the alternative, and rejuvenating the earth to be able to continue to live here in the particular places and the planet we call home. This is our evolutionary challenge. If we awaken to our own intelligence and evolutionary potential and the intelligence pervading our planet and the universe, we do not need to slip into the despair and hopelessness of inevitability, extinction, or the hubris of conquest and mastery over our planets. Elon Musk wants to create a SpaceX city in Mars. By talking about the SpaceX Mars architecture. I want to make Mars seem possible, make it seem as though it is something that we can do in our lifetime, he writes, he adds. There really is, excuse me, there really is a way that anyone could go if they wanted to, Musk believes. The threshold for self-sustaining cities on Mars would be 1 million people. Current calculations indicate that it would take about 40 to 100 years to achieve a fully self-sustaining civilization on Mars. In less than 100 years, that the masters of the universe would like a tiny population of a human population to climb into a spaceship and escape to Mars. There is, of course, no mention of the rest of humanity and the rest of the species. Humanity could regenerate the planet, rejuvenate the earth's soil, water, biodiversity, bring about the balance between humans and provide enough food for all. But Musk, as for Hawkins, there are only two fundamental paths for humankind: that we stay on Earth forever, eventually succumbing to an extinction event, or we become a space-bearing civilization and a multiplanetary species. Musk, like all men suffering from technological hubris, does not seem to understand that being a planetary citizen does not need a space travel. It means being conscious that we are part of the universe and the earth, and that we need to live in accordance with the laws of the universe and of the earth. The full fundamental law is to recognise that we share the planet with other beings and that we have a duty of care for our common home. The physical capacity to organise space flights has always been achieved. We now need to evolve our planetary consciousness to Earth citizens. The wider our consciousness, the smaller our ecological footprint. I would translate for the contemporary evolutionary moment Gandhi's distillation of universal ecological responsibility when he said the earth provides enough for everyone's needs but not for a few people's greed. Today we need to recognise that the earth provides enough for all beings and their future evolution. Extinction looks inevitable only in a worldwide driven by greed, by hubris, by a mechanical, militarised, intelligence based on conquest. To assume that flying to Mars is equal to creating life, there is a leap of hubris and of arrogance, ignorance and indifference. Both Hawkins and Musk seem to have ignored the fact that the Earth is a self-organised living planet which creates the conditions for its life and all the species that have evolved on it. That the Earth is ever-living being, the tiniest of cells have the capacity to heal, renew, regenerate. Hope comes from this potential and the fact that we share the planet with millions of species. It is irresponsible, immoral and unethical to think that we can continue to trash the planet and escape to another one, even if it were to become technologically feasible to do so. Staying home is our ecological imperative and ethical imperative. It is also a joyful option. It is the practice of oikonomia as the art of living. It is Earth's democracy in action. So I am going to have to leave it there. There is a page and a half left. I would recommend that people buy the book, and because there is lots of things in here that I haven't been able to read on the video. It gives you all the companies and all the shares they have in it and who has the shares in these, so it is worth it just